Good evening. I'd like to call the regular Town Council meeting to order of May 6, 2024. At this time, if everyone can please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Item 3, roll call, please.
Councillor Boganski.
Present.
Councillor Lewis.
Present.
Councillor Balboni.
Present.
Councillor Carey.
Present.
Mayor Delnicki.
Here.
Deputy Mayor Saracusa.
Present.
Councillor King.
Here.
Councillor Pendleton.
Present.
Moving on to item 4, Mayor's remarks. I have a few comments for tonight. Tomorrow evening, May 7th, is the Eugene Policelli Service Awards. They're being held at 6 p.m. at South Windsor High School. This year's recipients are Lisa Copper and Sarah Stoddard. The week of May 12th through the 18th is National Police Week. Sunday, May 12th is Mother's Day. The week of May 19th through the 25th is National EMS Week and National Public Works Week. On Saturday, May 18th, Armed Forces Day will be celebrated at Nevers Park on Sand Hill Road from 5 p.m. to dusk. There will be food trucks, live music, military displays, family activities, and more. The night will end with a fabulous fireworks display, as long as there's no rain. On Monday, May 27th, the South Windsor will host its Memorial Day Parade. The parade will commence at 10 a.m. along Nutmeg Road South, proceeding to Pleasant Valley Road, and culminating at Veterans Memorial Park. Following the parade, there will be a Memorial Day ceremony at 11 a.m., honoring and remembering our military service members. Additionally, over 1,400 flags will be placed on veteran graves in South Windsor town ceremonies. A flyover is expected at approximately 11:15 a.m. And at this time, I would like to recognize South Windsor resident Matthew Odell, who currently serves in the Connecticut Army National Guard. On April 26th, I had the opportunity to attend Matthew's promotion ceremony. He was promoted from Sergeant First Class to Master Sergeant, and his promotion was effective April 1st, 2024. And congratulations to Master Sergeant Odell. And that's all I have for Mayor's remarks. Moving on to item 5.
Excuse me, Madam Mayor.
Yes.
May I just add something under the Mayor's notes? That it's also Military Appreciation Month. So thank you, South Windsor veterans and active duty personnel, and make sure that you thank a veteran this month. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilor Pendleton. And moving on to item 5, adoption of the agenda, Deputy Mayor Saracusa.
I'd like to make a motion to adopt the agenda.
Do I hear a second? Any discussion? Any changes? Councilor King.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I'd like to move number 13A to right after we adopt the agenda, actually. So 13A will be right after 5. So right after this, I suppose.
Do I hear a second?
Second.
All those in favor, say aye. Aye. Opposed? Seeing none, motion carries. Any other additions, changes? Councilor Carey.
I'd like to amend item 8, adoption of minutes of previous meeting, and remove it from this evening's agenda, as we were just provided the minutes, and we'll approve at next meeting.
And which minutes are those?
The minutes of April 15th, 2024.
Regular.
Yes.
We have a motion and a second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, seeing none, motion carries. Okay. Moving on to the moved item 13A.
Thank you, Madam.
Councilor King.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I'd like to move resolution appointing Morris C. Fitzgerald as a member of the South Windsor Town Council. Be it resolved that the South Windsor Town Council hereby appoints Maurice C. Fitzgerald as a member of the South Windsor Town Council for a term ending November 10th, 2025, to fill the unexpired term of Ms. Erica Evans.
We have a motion, we have a second. Any discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Seeing none, motion carries.
Oh, come on, no, let's go.
I'd like to
Let's go, girl. Come on. Come on, up. Come on.
I'd like to make a motion to suspend the regular meeting to swear in our new council member at this time, and Second. All those in favor?
Aye.
No opposed? Motion carries. Ms.
Bonnie's right
Armstrong?
behind you.
I used to be a goalie, I'm pretty loud.
All right. Okay. All right. Would you please raise your right hand? Do you, Maura Fitzgerald, solemnly swear that you will faithfully discharge, according to law, your duties as town councilor for the town of South Windsor to the best of your abilities, so help you God?
I do.
Congratulations.
All right.
Now I'll call the regular meeting back to order. Thank you. And before I call on the next agenda item, I would like to again welcome Maura Fitzgerald as a member of the Town Council. We are once again a council of 9, The council is not a team of 6 or a team of 3. We are a team of 9. The 9 of us represent the town of South Windsor, not any one party. We are going to disagree on things, but I am truly hopeful we can agree on many more. So moving on to the next item on the agenda is communications and reports from the town manager, who is not here at the moment. So suspend the rules and skip to the next agenda item, and we'll get back to it when he returns. Okay.
So moved.
Thank you. Moving on to item 7, public input for items on the agenda. Public input shall not exceed 30 minutes. When recognized by the mayor, the speaker shall approach the lectern, give their name and address. Speakers shall avoid personal attacks or impugning or alleging any improper motive to any person. The person shall address the council on any item on the agenda. The speaker shall limit their speaking time to 5 minutes. Is there anyone who'd like to come forward and speak on any item on the agenda? Anyone that'd like to come forward on any item on the agenda? 3 times, going once, going twice. Okay, moving on to item 8, adoption of minutes of previous meeting. Councilor Lewis.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I'd like to make a motion for the approval of the April 15th, 2024 Town Council special minutes. Be it resolved that the South Windsor Town Council hereby approves the minutes of the special Town Council meetings of April 15th, 2024.
We have a motion and we have a second. Any discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Abstentions?
I'd like to make a motion for the approval of,
Hold on. Maura, did you want to abstain or did you want to approve the minutes? You did? Oh, okay. Missed it, sorry. All those in favor say aye. All opposed? Motion carries. Go ahead, Mr. Lewis.
thank you. Approval of the April 15th, 2024 proposed general government budget for fiscal year 25-24 public hearing meeting minutes. Be it resolved that the South Windsor Town Council hereby approves the minutes of the April 15th, 2024 public hearing for the proposed Board of Education budget for fiscal year 24-25.
We have a second?
Second.
We have a motion, we have a second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. Moving on to item 9, communications, liaison officers and boards directly responsible to the council. Councilor Baganski?
Thank you. Met the end of last month with the Economic Development Commission. Real briefly, nothing much going on at this point. Just heads up that there'll be a number of local businesses owned by local families that will be planning expansions over the next 12 to 18 months, so we'll be looking forward to that. And there's a large mixed-use development on Buckland Road that is moving forward. They will not be looking for tax abatements, so that's good to know. That's it. Thank you.
Thank you. Councilor Balboni?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Although you already said something about it in your remarks, I'd like to repeat that Saturday, May 18th at 5 p.m. at Nevers Park is Armed Forces Day. Fireworks will be at dusk around 9 o'clock. And then, of course, the Memorial Day Parade at 10 a.m., followed by an 11 a.m. ceremony at Veterans Memorial Park on May 27th. The essay contest winners have been posted on the Commission's Facebook page and will be presented to the Council on June 3rd. Thank you.
Thank you. Councilor King?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. The South Windsor Arts Commission met on April 23rd at 6 o'clock in the Madden Room. Very spirited discussion, the first one in almost a year, if not 2. So very excited to see them come back. The next meeting will be on Tuesday, May 21st. So if anybody is interested in joining the South Windsor Arts Commission, please, I guess you can let me know, and I'll make sure that it gets to the appropriate people. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilor King. Deputy Mayor Siracusa?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I have a few updates from the April Library Board meeting. The library is working with the Friends of the Library to submit a grant application to purchase equipment to fill out the makerspace. Staff are conferring on the hiring requirements for the empty position in the Children's Department. A job description is being written and it is expected to list soon. New technology, both software and hardware, are currently in negotiation to replace some existing resources that are more costly and less efficient. That doesn't make sense to me. This is from the library director, so we'll get some clarification on that. South Windsor Public Library is in the process to become a member of the Connecticut Digital Archive. The little girl statue that was taken from the back lawn in October of 2023 has been returned and secured in its original location. And additionally, this is good news for the parents out there. The board discussed the appropriateness of introducing a low-level filter to the public internet connections in order to become compliant with the Child Internet Protection Act, beginning to charge for printing services at the library and make up of the strategic plan committee that will be charged with updating the library's plan over the next year. And also, Elaine Abu Akar, who is nominated to fill the vacancy on the board, was present and has made some substantive additions to the discussion. This guy's got quite a vocabulary. And that's it.
Thank you, Deputy Mayor. Let's go back to item 6, communications and reports from the town manager.
Thank you, Madam Mayor, and I apologize. I was running from the 6th grade concert tonight, so I apologize for being a couple minutes late. Anyways, in terms of our tax collectors update, while collections are down 0.06 from last year, we collected $217,319 in revenue last month compared to $179,949 in April of 2023. Overall, as you can see, I'm just going to paraphrase quickly for all of you. When comparing Grand List 2021 to Grand List 2022, we're down just a little bit at 99.22% collected. In addition to issuing alias tax warrants for personal property, motor vehicle, and supplemental taxes for accounts who are delinquent, we sent letters to potential tax sale properties. Due to the first tax sale mailing, $33,864.09 was recovered. This is a combination of real estate, personal property, and motor vehicle taxes. 2 accounts have paid in full and have been removed from the sale, and we are going to be moving forward with our tax sale process. Also wanted to just make sure, in terms of requests for town council agendas, we received a number of requests over the last couple days. Several people have asked how to get the town council agenda email to them. With that being said, I wanted to provide some instruction on how to receive those agendas. To receive these notifications and to receive a link to view the agendas, please visit the Subscribe to News South Windsor CT at southwindsor-ct.gov. Using this link, and if you look at my online report, you can actually find the hyperlink. Using this link to subscribe allows the option to sign up to receive specific commission information for all the commissions, such as agendas and minutes, as well as news and announcements and town manager reports. Agendas are posted to the town website no later than Friday prior to the town council meeting, and notifications are received by subscribers within minutes of the agenda being posted. Lastly, in terms of our splash pad and the splash pad update, the town, along with AquaTurf out of Ohio, installed the Tough Coat on the base of the splash pad. The sunshade foundations were poured and are ready for install. We are awaiting for the fixtures to be fabricated, fabrication to be completed by AquaTurf. They've promised they will be on site May 20th in time for our Memorial Day opening. I know as recent as today, our Public Works Director was on the phone with them, and we are still pushing AquaTurf as hard as we possibly can to get those fixtures delivered on time. What is taking them so long, I cannot really tell you at this point. It's been over a year or more, and we will continue to make that push. In terms of one other item that I don't have in my written report for all of you because it came in a little late, in terms of an OSTA update for Governor's Highway, I did have the opportunity to meet with a representative from DOT as well as the mayor and our state representative, and we walked and talked along Governor's Highway to take a look at kind of what we're looking at. We talked pretty significantly about a through traffic truck ban. They won't be able to make a comprehensive truck ban because tractor trailer trucks conducting business have a constitutional protection to be able to do that, but through traffic can be banned. And currently at this point, DOT engineers are doing both finishing up their evaluation and their write-up of their report, which we will be expecting soon. And with that being said, I'd be happy to answer any questions the council may have.
Anyone have any questions for the town manager? Councilor Carey?
Did you also discuss Belden?
Yes, that's in that whole general area. We
Okay.
walked that whole.
Thank you.
Discuss what? I'm sorry.
Belden as for the truck ban as well?
Well, it's not a truck ban.
Well, the truck through.
The through traffic.
Through traffic.
I think it's very important that the public understands it's only going to be through traffic. So if you live in that area, you still will see tractor trailers and trucks coming through the area because they're going to conduct business. We cannot eliminate tractor trailer traffic completely. There's still going to be some coming in. For example, people moving into their home would result in a tractor trailer coming through the neighborhood. So it's not going to be banned completely, but there will be probably a reduction in that traffic.
Councilor Lewis?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Mr. Maniscalco, you had mentioned that during your first tax sale, $33,864.09 were recovered. Is that part of the 0.6 down, or would that number be adjusted? more
Correct, that is
favorably?
part of the 0.6 down. I think it's important to note that little bit that we're off, the large driver behind that is one industrial client within, or one industrial taxpayer within our community. That will be solved very shortly, so.
Thank you.
Councilor King?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Thank you for your report, Mr. Maniscalco. Questions I have are in regards to a lot of the construction that's happening or is about to happen. Just so that
Construction season.
Yes, yes, which is all over the place. So in regards to a couple of places, let's start with the VMP. Do we have an idea? It looked like I saw that everything was kind of laid out. Do we know how many parking spots is going to be on that?
The number I don't know off the top of my head. I could get you the number of parking spots if you.
The only reason that I ask that is so that people can be prepared, so if there's only 20 spots, that, you know, get there early. The second one is in regards to Chapel. So, no, is it Chapel? No, it's Pleasant Valley?
Pleasant Valley,
Yeah,
maybe?
Pleasant Valley, thank you, yes. So when are we going to have dates on that, specific dates, in regards to when that construction is going to happen? Because I'm assuming it's still going to happen during the school year.
Sure, so it's, I mean, my expectation is gonna start within the next couple of weeks. They've already started some of the tree work and that sort of thing. So, I think there's a little bit of a holdup with some of the utilities, trying to get those working through, but, my expectation is any time now.
So with that construction, just to follow up, Madam Mayor, are they extending on both sides or just the one? It just looks like I saw all the bags and all that other type of stuff that they lay out for that side of the street. But I only saw it on
I'm
the
trying
one
to
side.
rememth back to the plans I saw.
Both. Okay.
Yeah, I
Okay.
would have to get back to you for sure, but I think it's the one, but I'm not
Okay.
positive.
No, I think
That's
it's
fine.
both.
Is it both?
I believe it is,
I could be wrong.
because they have to fix it with the bridge and the new bridge there, and
Okay. So I wasn't sure if it was going all the way up to Buckland and everything else. So that's the reason that I was asking. Okay.
Sure.
Thank you.
Councilor Baginski?
Thank you. Two quick questions. As far as the splash pad goes, and we may have talked about this, and my apologies, are there any penalties built into the contract for the
So
delays?
the challenge we have with the contract is that we procured them through like a consortium. So we're allowed to use consortiums for lowest qualified bids, so it's like a state contract. So you're locked into this form contract that we end up getting. Unfortunately, there's not penalties specifically built into it, but if they're not going to perform to the contract, they'd be in violation of that. It's a little bit challenging related to where we stand at this point. And we're trying to use as much honey as we possibly can in this process rather than using a fly swatter, but I do think that we're going to be getting to that point if we don't meet our Memorial Day deadline.
Okay. And then, real quickly, any word from our friends at Home Market Foods?
Sure. So I've had a number of conversations with them. I believe they are in the process of seeking some type of a employment tax credit from the state of Connecticut that they're waiting on. So they're waiting on that, and then I believe they were also going to go to the WPCA this month, but that meeting got postponed to next month. But that didn't seem to impact them very much. We're in the process of getting our actual tax abatement agreement in place. And everything I've heard has been very, very positive so far. I believe that they have conditional offers in place for some of the employees out of the facility. So I think every sign that I can see is very positive to a green light and moving forward.
Councilor Pendleton?
Thank you. I barely heard that, but were you discussing the Finn project?
Correct.
Thank you. I'm good. I heard some of it, but I'm good.
I think we need to just say whole meatballs, but yeah.
It's like, what? Okay, couple of questions. From what I understood, the library, and I was listening to the report on the library from Library Board, the library was supposed to be working with our ID department to get some equipment, the updated equipment and software. Wouldn't that be able to save them some money?
So sometimes it saves them money, sometimes it doesn't. It depends on that scenario and which equipment and what items it is. So libraries do have access to additional funding through state and other consortiums, like the Library Consortium itself, where they're able to sometimes procure technology at a cheaper rate. But they're working with our IT department back and forth to make sure that they're getting the best deal possible for our residents.
Okay. The other thing, Governor's Highway, the truck traffic, through truck traffic, as you explained, it's the trucks that may be servicing the businesses at the other end of Governor's that may be using?
Yeah.
I don't have a problem with trucks servicing businesses because that's what they do. Without truckers, we wouldn't have food in our fridges. So my concern, because I was almost hit twice, my concern is where trucks turn from Ellington Road to Governor's Highway. That entrance there on that bend, if this through truck traffic thing is still going to be in place, I truly believe that something needs to be looked at that corner. It's very, very dangerous when they go to turn that corner from Ellington onto Governor's Highway.
You mean to like have it re-engineered or something?
Yeah, it's a very sharp, and they come into the exiting from Governor's onto Ellington into that lane. Literally, people have to back up to let them get on Governor's, or you're inches away from a tractor trailer. So that seriously, if requesting our maybe Public Works or the police department or somebody, an engineer, to look at the curve cut there, just because that's extremely dangerous. That's more of a concern because it happened to me almost twice. So that I'd like to have continue to look at.
Sure.
The other thing is the Governor's Highway, or I'm sorry, the Belden Road entrance from the mill. That's another precarious intersection. You know, you get coming down Ellington, you're going up Belden, you got the cars flying down Ellington. I don't know. Maybe somebody can look at that. I don't get paid to do that. Maybe somebody can look at that.
Yeah.
Because that's just not a...
They're going to be a little bit challenging because it's going to take DOT to work with us because those are both state and local roads. So it's going to be a little challenging in that regard, but we certainly can strike up those conversations and see what best we can do. If there's anything that we can figure out, it may require some taking of land from the residents around there to make
And
those
safety is critical.
potentially wider.
Michael, you're talking tractor
Sure.
trailers, you know?
Yeah.
That's like the biggest concern on either one of those intersections.
Yep.
So if you could just look into that, I appreciate it. In the Finn project you addressed, everything is looking positive on that?
Everything
Do
is-
we have a date on that?
No, the most I've been able to get is like within the next 4 weeks.
Okay.
So,
All right, no worries. The other thing is that I just want to say that VMP parking lot is absolutely beautiful. I never thought I would happen to see it in my lifetime, and it's absolutely beautiful. I thank the town and for doing that and making it, it's so presentable now. It's absolutely beautiful.
you're the first person I ever met to say a parking lot's beautiful. That's great.
Well, sorry, but it is. Compared to the dirt we had, it's beautiful. And also the walkway out front is too. Now, I read the email, and I'm not sure if that's still on board, and if you could mention it, about railroad tracks. Could you please?
Sure, so the railroad is going to be coming through, I believe, in the next couple weeks to replace the railroad tracks along Route 5. That process is a little time-consuming for them, so what they do is, as they move actual train cars loaded with tracks through town, and they drop the rail off, and then they'll install it as they go. That we're looking at possible impacts to Chapel, Pleasant Valley, and then all the way up. So just residents will need to be aware that day that is actually going to occur. There will be some more notification that comes out from the town when we get closer to it. They've only kind of given us a pretty large window at this point, so once we get a bit of a better idea in terms of day, there will of course be traffic control and everything else as that progresses. So, you know, there's going to be a delay at one of those roads for a period of time as they move through, and then it's going to open up, and then the delay is going to move further down and further down and further down as they move north through town.
Do they suspect that all the intersections of Route 5 and the side streets to be completed in one day with the drop-off?
I think it's supposed to happen within one day.
One day. And you're going to let the emergency services of our community know?
Correct.
Okay. And put it out there, maybe all over, you know, the
Correct.
town website so we can share it?
Yep, we will
All
make
right.
sure that everybody's aware.
Great. Thank you.
You all set, Counselor? Thank you. Counselor King?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Just a quick follow-up in regards to the Finance Department. I know it wasn't necessarily part of your full report, but just to say, as it relates to the assessor, just to read really briefly, only because we've had a number of questions, a number of people come up during public opinion in regards to the applications for the elderly and totally disabled homeowners program for income-qualified homeowners. Started February 1st. It continues through May 15th, which is just in a week and a half or so. A second reminder letter was sent out for the tax credit on the upcoming July real estate bill, sent to all residents currently on the homeowners program on April 12, 2024. As of Friday, 4/12/2024, there are still 62 households currently on the program who need to refile to retain your tax credit. All of our elderly, totally disabled homeowner program, get on that. This is a credit. It's already out there for you. All you have to do is refile. You have to do it before May 15th. So I just wanted to say that just so everybody was aware of that.
Thank you, Counselor King. Deputy Mayor Saracusa?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Do you mind shooting us an email with the renderings from the splash pad?
Sure, I forgot.
I know I mentioned that last meeting. I wasn't sure if you didn't have them, but I'm sure they're around somewhere.
I apologize, I did forget to send that.
That's all right. It's not the biggest deal in the world. Thank you.
Seeing none. Other comments? Moving on to item 10, reports from committees. Seeing none. Moving on to item 11, consent agenda. Counselor Carey.
Motion to approve 11A1 through 11A3 as a first reading on the consent agenda.
Do I hear a second? Second. Any discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Seeing none, motion carries. Moving on to 11B, Counselor Begansky.
Motion to approve 11B1 through 11B5 as a second reading on the consent agenda.
Here,
Second.
we have a motion and a second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Seeing none, motion carries. Moving on to 11A, miscellaneous, having none. Moving on to 12, unfinished business, having none. Moving on to 13, new business. Item 13B, discussion item, Counselor Carey. Discussion item is on budget working group, budget proposals, and Counselor Carey is going to do a PowerPoint presentation.
Okay, I'm going to apologize. Bear with me, you guys. I've never worked on this before. So the South Windsor Town Council Budget Work Group was made up of Mayor Delnicki, Councilman Rick Balboni, Councilor Stephen King, and myself. The goals of this work group was to put together some budget recommendations for the town council so that they could provide input. What we tried to do was make sure that we met the needs of our schools, which we all know our schools are seeing, significant growth, 15% over the last 10 years. Keep all town services where they were or better, and try and get the budget, the taxes for the residents as low as possible. So these are the recommendations. So critical budget drivers, we had a decrease of $2 million in Connecticut state funding, which hurt our budget. We had an increase of $6.43 million in Board of Education budget due to the increase in student enrollment. And we had a minimal increase in the grand list. Growth for this budget year was 0.66. Grand list varies over the years, but has been averaging about 3% roughly when we looked at it over time. So the combination of this put us in a kind of interesting situation. Okay, I apologize, this is hard to read, but these were all the different ideas that we looked at. So basically, if we had left the proposed budgets where they were, then a house with an assessed value of $300,000 would have come in at $588. It would have been a 5.92% increase, which, if we think about it, the vast majority of residents in our town are not getting 5.92% increases in their salaries, so that would have been a big problem. We looked at different things that we can do, and what we are recommending to the town council, of course, for their feedback and input, was that we do some, use some creative processes to get this budget down. We looked very hard at the Board of Education budget, but the Board of Education budget is to cover the needs of this increasing school growth. A new assistant principal for the high school when they've added an annex and they desperately need administrative help there, and a number of other things. So this budget would propose a $70,000 reduction in the Board of Ed budget. We have talked to Dr. Carter about this. And then it proposes using $2 million additional in tax stabilization fund in order to bring this budget down. So you might ask, well, why would you do that? Well, the reason is because last year, when the year ended, when I say we, I mean the town of South Windsor. The town of South Windsor swept over $5 million into our general fund, okay, because we didn't spend as much as we thought we would spend, and that's a great thing, that's positive. But therefore, we have money in our budget, in our tax stabilization fund, currently is sitting at $3.2 million. In the proposed budget by town manager, there was $500,000 out of the tax stabilization fund already being used. And so adding an additional $2 million helps to bring down the budget for our taxpayers. It brings a house that is assessed at $300,000, that's the average assessment across the town, down to $396 from $588, and it's a 3.99% increase. So while it is not as low as ideally we would like to have gotten it, it does this in a way that protects the schools. It gives Dr. Carter, 99.7% of what was requested by Dr. Carter and the Board of Education. It maintains all of our town services and protects the taxpayers, because we just got to help the taxpayers. I think people are really struggling, especially our seniors. I don't know, I get some emails from them. So that was our recommendation. What's the impact of the different options that I laid out? As you can see, this is the amount of tax for that $300,000 assessed home. The proposed budget A, a reduced budget, we reduced some of the town budget, reduced a little bit more, and then taking the $70,000 from the school. And then, the other proposal was, taking $429,000 from the schools. That was not the recommendation of the work group. Work group was $70,000. So what are the assumptions and budget options? So this is South Windsor Board of Education proposed $94,650,656. This gives them $94,580,656. Capital budgets, we're mandated to keep the capital budget increase at 5%, so it stays the same at $3.3 million. Town of South Windsor operating budget proposed was $40,287,000 and change, and this budget comes in at $40,159,000 and change. Town debt, again, we don't have control over that. It's $13,753,870. And this is one of the things we have to keep in mind. Our town debt is going up every year. We knew it would when we put in 4 new schools, right? We had to bond for them. As we bonded, we have to pay them. So that's what you've got going on here. Tax stabilization proposed was $500,000. We're proposing $2.5 million. In order to do this, we will have to have a public hearing and change an ordinance to allow the tax stabilization fund to go up from its current max of $3 million to $6 million, and also to move the maximum from $500,000 to whatever we choose it to be, about $3 million. I'm sorry, you mean $500,000 what? $3 million. All tax estimates shown on these sheets were from an average home in South Windsor assessed at $300,000, and assessed home values are 70% of the home's appraised value. So these were the assumptions we were working with. Liz, so one of the things that we did with this budget is this was the proposal, and it walks you through each step. I'm not really sure you all want to go through every step. Anybody in the audience wants to, I will walk you all through. If not, I will show you, Liz. I know that you had asked some questions, and so I did take the time to put the impact of all those other proposals in here. So, I'm sorry, Councilman Pendleton, I'm sorry, I keep messing that up, I apologize. So, Councilman Pendleton had wanted to look at some different options, giving the school board some more money, adding back in a police officer that was taken out before the proposed operating town budget was fixed, and also improving capital projects. So down here at the bottom, you'll see the dollar value of those options. Again, they were not the recommendation, but I did want to put them in there so that you could see. What I did too, Council Pendleton, was I tried to take all of them together and then 2 of them and then 1 and then 1 and 1 so that you could see the impact of each of the unique proposals as well as when you combine them. So that's the presentation. When we go to adopt the budget, we adopt it like Board of Ed separate, government separate. But I really wanted people to understand where we are coming from, what we are trying to do, and that, in the process, we tried to be as creative as possible. Because at the end of the day, I do think we have to do the right thing by the schools, do the right thing by the town, but protect our residents. So that's it. Anybody need any of this left up, or I can just take it down? Do you want anything left up, or I can just take it down?
You might want to just leave it up just in case when we have our discussion through each of the agenda items.
Okay.
And if it goes to sleep, Kathy can. Moving on to, do you have any more, want to discuss this more, Counselor Pendleton, or do you want to wait till we get to each of the resolutions?
No, I think it should be discussed now,
Okay,
because it's its own agenda topic, and we should have a discussion item on it.
sure. Do you have any
Yeah.
questions?
Oh, I do.
Okay.
Mr. Maniscalco, how much money is generated for the tax stabilization fund on an annual basis?
You know, we did a little bit of a look at that over the last 5 years for the budget working group, and it's kind of all over the place, depending on a number of different factors. So a couple of years we had better than expected tax collection rates. A couple of years we had better interest rates coming through as interest rates have changed. A couple of years we had a little bit better expenditures on the expenditure side. We had some savings. So it's varied anywheres from, I want to say, and maybe Ms. Perry wants to jump in and help me out too, but I would say anywheres between 2 million to 6, I think was the high I saw over a 5-year period. If that gives you a general idea. But there's no one driver to it. That's the one key thing I think that's important.
But there is one driver, because there's a certain percentage of the new revenue that gets contributed to the tax stabilization fund. I believe it's like 1% or 3% of the new revenue that gets put into the tax stabilization fund.
I want to say it's 1%. So, but that's not.
That's the dollar number I'm looking for.
Okay, so that's not the surplus though at the end of the year. That's 1% from new revenues generated.
Right, that's what I'm asking. Do we know what that is?
That would vary depending on what our grand list turns out every year. And as you heard Councilor Carey say, it's around an average of around 3%, depending on what you're looking at.
Around 3%?
Correct. So our grand list typically goes up around 3% over the last 10 years is what it's turning out in new revenue. So it'd be 1% of the 3%. But as
only
we
of
said,
new
this
revenue.
year, it's very minimal.
But only of new revenue, not of all revenue. It's only of new revenue. Is there a
Well,
way?
3% would be new revenue generated by the
Oh,
grand
okay,
list. Yeah.
okay. So that's 1% of the 3%.
Yeah.
Okay.
I don't know
So
what the dollar amount
my
would be,
point
but-
being is, how many years is it going to take to replace $2 million back into the tax stabilization fund based off of the new revenue in our town at 1%?
Well, it's not only new revenue, and correct me if I'm wrong, but it's not only new revenue that's going into the tax stabilization fund. It's also surplus funds at the end of the year. So I think it's important to recognize every year we come up with a number of estimates related to our revenues. We have two sides to our budget, our expenditure side and our revenue side. So we put the best estimates that we can into our budget for what we believe our revenues are going to be. So that includes state grants, federal grants, tax collection rates, interest rates, fees associated with building, all kinds of things. And we come up with our best guess. Typically, as it says in our budget policy statement, we're supposed to be as conservative as possible with those guesses, which we do. And as a result, we end up turning out a surplus at the end of the year because of that. Those funds as well end up going into the tax stabilization fund. So right now, based upon just interest alone, we're expecting there will be a surplus in our budget this year. I think, and I'm knocking on what I hope is real wood underneath here, I think we should be able to make up that $2 million. Now, we're not at the end of the fiscal year yet. We're not 100% sure. We have a number of other things that could happen before then, and who knows, but I think we should be able to get to that $2 million number by the end of this fiscal year.
Okay, because I don't see the tax stabilization fund ordinance within our packet, so I don't know exactly how it's funded. I know it's funded with parameters and particulars.
Excuse me, Counselor Pendleton, it is in your packet.
Is this the new proposed one, or is the old one?
This is the old one.
It's the old one?
But we're setting a public hearing tonight to
Well, that's where I was going to go. This is the old one?
correct the current one.
Okay. The minimum annual transfer amount will be $50,000, $500,000 in any one fiscal year. But where is it? I know it's written in the tax stabilization fund that how it's funded, a percentage of the new growth goes into fund tax stabilization. Where is that written? Town attorney? Help me out, please.
It's in section
Item D.
D.
Is that in D? 10% of the amount of tax revenue generated in the first full year of the residential and commercial construction, that one? Is that it?
Yes.
So it's not 1%, it's 10%. I believe it's 1%. I don't know. Was this, Kathy, was this copied or typed? Printed from the ordinance? Okay. So 10% on the first full year of residential and commercial construction. That's the only way that this is funded. Correct? From
Okay,
the
so
surplus of
let
over
me
1
read it for you.
million.
Allocations into the fund will come from any surplus over $1 million in the general fund annually. The town council may also appropriate up to 10% of the amount of tax revenue generated in the first full year of new residential and/or commercial construction and/or revenue generated by the expiration of tax abatements and/or tax fixing agreements resulting in increased personal property and/or real property taxes. Notwithstanding anything to the contrary, herein the aggregate balance of the tax stabilization fund shall be a minimum of $500,000, but in no event shall it exceed a maximum of $3 million.
So it's funded with the 1 million plus the 10% of any new revenue for the first year, correct?
No,
Anything
it's
over 1 million?
after 1 million.
Yeah, over 1 million. Okay. It says allocations into the fund will come from the surplus over $1 million in the general fund annually. Do we know what that is? Is that the 10% that would come from that? Are you going to donate $1 million? Are you going to donate over $1 million? Like, or move over the money is what I'm trying to say. Because that's not very specific.
So currently, the fund is fully funded, so that we
Right.
haven't been able to sweep any additional money into that at the end of the fiscal year. So it says the town council may also appropriate up to 10%. So if we were to take the money out of the tax stabilization fund prior to the end of the fiscal year, you may move back up to 10% from those additional revenues that would be generated. We'd have to go sit down and figure out what those were for this current fiscal year, but you may be able to do that. It's not a shall. So that being said, next year, let's just say that you took $2 million out in this fiscal year. Next fiscal year, once we close our books in this fiscal year, and let's just say we have a surplus of $2 million, we would then sweep 1 million of it into the tax stabilization fund, and potentially could take 2, depending on how things played out. Does that
It makes
clear it
sense.
up? Okay.
No, it's making sense now. I was just wondering how the money's going to be put back into it. How, where is it going to come from? How is it funded? How long is it going to take to replace that 2 million? Year, 2 years, 3 years?
If I want to play the conservative game, I would say 3, but I
3?
think it's probably going to be more like a year.
Okay. I like conservative. That's good. That's good. Okay. So that's the question on that one. Now, in the general fund, there's $5 million in the general fund surplus? Or moved over or something? What did you say?
So last year, at the end of the last fiscal year, so that ended June 30th, 2023, the town had a surplus of over $5 million. So that $5 million swept into the general fund. The tax stabilization fund is part of the general fund. And so to the extent that the tax stabilization fund was not at its max, $3 million, it would have swept money into it. but anything over that just goes straight to the general fund and sits there. Right now, the general fund, and Patty, you can nod if I get this right or not, is around $38 million.
I thought it was 3.2. Oh, general fund, I'm sorry.
General fund.
Tax stabilization fund is 3.2.
So,
Okay.
to keep our AAA bond rating, one of the things that you need to do is have 2 months, of your expenses in the general fund. 2 months of our expenses would be between $14 and $15 million if you look at our overall budget, both Board of Ed and town operating budget. So, at 14 million about a month, we have 35 to 38 million, so we are well in excess of
the 2
our
months.
30 million, right, yes, we're in good shape. So, again, is this an ideal situation that if we were coming in with a 2% increase or 1% increase that I would be pushing? No, probably not. But you know what? This is a 5-point-something increase to our residents, and we needed to find a way to do something. And cutting the school budget with the needs of the school, I looked at the budget for line by line for hours and had a meeting with Dr. Carter and our finance team. We had a joint meeting, as you know. There wasn't anything, there was very little there to cut. And I mean, you were proposing $1 million extra. So, by the same token, and we had asked the town to have a 0 budget increase, and thank you very much. I think every department in this town did an awesome job of coming as close to 0 as they could. So we appreciate that. Oh, sorry. But, I think that this is a solution. And because we know that we are going to have a surplus this year flowing into that general fund, if we pass the resolution after the public hearing next week and up the maximum, there's reasons you need to up the maximum, we will flow pretty much what we're taking out right back into it, and we should be in good shape.
So, Mr. Maniscalco, you expect a surplus this year from the budget? Knowing that we have a 2-month in general fund for a AAA rating, we're going to have a surplus?
So right now, what we're seeing is higher than projected interest rates on current funds that we have, which is going to generate a surplus for the budget.
That's a great thing. Okay. Now, moving on to the next question. That's what I was asking, is how much per year for the tax stabilization fund? The only thing that I can say about this is that thank you for putting my comments into the budget working group here on my asks. I understand that the $100,000 for the Board of Ed is not necessary, and because there is programming there now at Timothy Edwards to cover the items for mental health that I was worried about. I am disappointed, though, that capital would not be funded. We're setting ourselves back 5 years, and that's very unfortunate and sad. And I'm very disappointed that we're cutting the emergency services of $103,000. Where is the $200,000 going to be coming to help and assist? That's going to be on the town side? Because we're only doing $70,000 on the Board of Ed side. And if you use the tax stabilization fund, that's going to help with the government side, the town side.
No, it helps with both. Overall budget. That's the overall budget.
Okay.
So, the police department did not propose, we didn't cut a police officer. The police department cut that themselves, right? When you met with you, Mr. Maniscalco.
So Chief Lindstrom did 2 budgets. He put together one budget that brought in a 0% increase, and he put together a second budget that showed what he believed he needed. While he presented both of those to me, he brought forward the 0% increase because that was consistent with the budget policy statement that the council put together.
But the reality is he stood here and told us that he needs another police officer.
Sure,
That's the reality.
Well,
and 25 police officers could retire right now out of the 47 that we have. So that would put us in a very precarious situation here in the town of South Windsor. And to cut emergency services, I do not agree with. Just letting that be known. And the chief stood there. None of us are police department experts. None of us know what's going on in the police department, what their needs are. 2,306 calls in 1 month of March. and you're not going to fund another police officer that our chief asked for. That's appalling to me that you would even consider that. So, and the other thing I'd like to say is there was not equal representation on the budget working group. There were 3 Republicans and 1 Democrat. It should have been 3 and 2. And I just heard that this evening. 3 Republicans and 1 Democrat. It was not equal representation. So tonight, going through the budget, I guess you'll hear everything I have to say about that because you didn't hear in the budget working group. Thank you. I have nothing else to say.
Deputy Mayor?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I don't understand the frustration or confusion with this tax stabilization. Just to be clear, it's made in order to help alleviate situations like we're in right now and probably going to be in for the next year or so. Is that
Sure.
correct?
So municipalities have tax stabilization funds for various reasons. Most of the time, they're put in place in an effort to help smooth in tax increases for residents. So in the event that there is a tax increase, it's used to help offset those increases and smooth them out so that it's not as significant an impact to people's wallets.
Sounds great to me. When was this ordinance passed? Do you know?
2018.
2018 was the last time
That's
this
when
has been looked
the
at?
ordinance was
Okay.
passed.
So, I mean, $6 million seems pretty fair to me. I'm also confused why there's even a cap, because you're telling me that if you have 2 million in there, and we bring in 3 or 4 million, 5 million of surplus, and we're in the position that we're in now, you can't sweep
Well,
stuff in.
Yeah, so I mean, to go into the weeds a little further.
I don't think you need to. That's
Well,
just
but there is a reason. I mean, so you have this big thing called the general fund, and then within the general fund, you have assigned and unassigned general fund. So the tax stabilization fund is assigned funds. You also want to have a healthy unassigned balance within the general fund. That's the 30-some-odd million that Councilor Carey was referring to. That's what our credit rating is based on, a lot of it, and so you need to have that portion there. And that's typically viewed as a percentage of our overall expenditures when they go to look at that. So as our budget goes up, we do need to have that portion of the general fund get larger as well. So if you think of the tax stabilization fund as a glass of water, at a certain point, that glass of water is full, and we need it to spill over into our unassigned general fund. So there's a purpose for it. I don't think we want to just have a gigantic, wide-open tax stabilization fund, because that will eventually
I agree, but I'd
negatively
like
impact
you,
us.
as the person that we've hired, to be able to use your discretion and knowledge on this stuff to be able to appropriate as much funds as you deem fit, because not for nothing, but we're really hurting right now. I'm about to bring my 3rd child into this world, and the taxes are out of control. So that bothers me that we went from 3 million in 2018 and it hasn't been looked at until now. What's your average that you've dipped into that every year?
So
in your
according to the
proposed budget?
ordinance, we're only allowed to use $500,000 every year out of it for the
And
budget.
you use that amount pretty much?
We allocate that much every year to the budget.
So that shows me that you could have used more, I'm assuming. Okay. Yeah, all right, thank you.
Councilor King?
I'll yield to Councilor Pendleton.
Councilor King?
Yeah, I'll yield to Councilor Pendleton. Thank you, Madam Mayor.
Thank you. Just to stay on the tax stabilization fund that was created 6 years ago, I actually created that ordinance. I know very well about that ordinance and why it was created, and for the times moving forward in South Windsor, when it might be a tough budget year, absolutely. In our times that have changed, should our cap be changed? Should our amount of funding be changed? Sure, it should be looked at. I'm not saying it shouldn't. It should be looked at. However, and really, financially, where we are in the world today, and all the prices are changing with everything, and let's fund it better, absolutely. I know we have a state statute that covers that. Does that have a limitation on caps and/or funding?
No, it doesn't.
It does
just
not.
authorizes you to set your own ordinance. So
Okay.
you guys have authority to set the number at whatever you feel is appropriate.
Great, thank you. Also, I'd like to say that you're intending to have a public hearing although you can't this evening we can approve the Board of Education budget with a reduction of $70,000, have the public hearing on the 20th and approve the Board of Education. No, we cannot. The government budget, we cannot. So it's kind of a conundrum that we're in here because approving an ordinance change after the budget is approved doesn't seem legal to me, first of all. Secondly, that's kind of like mismanagement of finances or the way that you're managing the finances. And why wasn't a special meeting called for an ordinance, public hearing ordinance, to be able to do that prior to us coming here this evening to approve these budgets? I'm not comfortable with changing the ordinance after the fact. For God forbid that our residents come forward and they say, no, don't change that ordinance. And the majority of this council will probably vote to still change the ordinance no matter what the citizens say. So I'm a little concerned about that. To have a public hearing could have happened with a special meeting. Is that correct, Attorney?
You need a public hearing to change the ordinance, yes.
Right. So next week, a meeting could occur for a public hearing on the ordinance change, a special meeting strictly for that, for a public hearing to change the ordinance, and then to approve the government budget on the 20th. But to do it after the fact is very disturbing to me. It's almost as if you're changing the rules to make the finances of our town fit your needs, and I don't appreciate that. And to do it after the fact, that's a shell game. So I would appreciate it if it was done prior to our meeting so we could go ahead and then vote on it legally at the council meeting. That's my concern. Approving the $70,000 cut to the Board of Ed tonight, sure. But the $200,000 change in the ordinance, I think truly should happen prior to us approving the government budget. I think I'm done now. Thank you.
Counselor King.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. On the surface, I do not disagree with Councilor Pendleton. That being said, one of the things that, whether they like it or not, at this particular point, that our town did vote on was that they did not want to raise in taxes. That being said, they do have a right to, when we have a hearing, to say, hey, we don't want to move this $2 million. However, at a certain point, if we are truly thinking about our town as a whole, going back to a couple of points, whether that's capital projects, whether that's the police force, I'm reminded of all of our different budgets right now. If anybody steps outside of South Windsor, we are not the only town in this type of a conundrum. Hartford, for example, are praising God that they did not have to cut 400 teachers last time that I had a discussion with that mayor. It was only the grace of God that a couple of people got together through their relationship saying that they needed a certain amount of money, and they got it. And from what I understand, they are not only rehiring, but they've already hired 300 of those back, and they plan on rehiring another 24. I say all that to say is that while at a certain point, as it related to this budget as a part of the working group, because we definitely butted heads on a lot of different items, because I did not, and I said it, I would not vote for any cut to our Board of Ed budget. And let me be more specific as to the reasons why. I was a substitute teacher, quiet as kept, for maybe about 6 months to a year. And I saw firsthand I don't know how many people have kids in the school system on our council right now. So just me and you. 3. Hey, forgot about you, sis. So my point is that I think, and this is something that I brought up in our working group, is that you don't really appreciate what our teachers do, what our administrative staff does in our school system unless you're in there, especially after COVID-19, especially after the pandemic that we went through that kept our children, and you mentioned mental health, and so I'm thankful for that, home for almost over a year. And only by the grace of God did we have several students that had internet at home so that they could actually do the work. I say all that to say that, and before I forget, because she might watch this, my wife is a teacher in East Hartford. We are not the only town going through this type of, to use your word again, conundrum. And on the surface, again, I agree with you, 200%. However, I know that we have, in the King home, had to switch our budget because they don't have enough money for the printers. So we had to increase because my wife prints everything at home. It's painful, but I know she loves what she does. I know she loves her third grade students. And so we, as a family, which is what South Windsor should be, had to make an adjustment to our income and to how we save money. To take it a step further, no different than what's happening at our Capitol to a certain extent, this is what this money is for, if I'm correct. It is for a rainy day. If there's anything that we learned or should have learned after COVID-19 is that every financial expert said, if this ever happens again, you need to have at least 2, 3, 4 months saved up in case this happens again. And from what we've heard, just from our seniors, nobody has that. And so, while again on the surface, I do agree with you, Councilor Pendleton, I do think if there is a way to do it, we need to figure out how. Because if not, all we're doing is repeating the same thing that we did last time, and the voters spoke on that. Now, they made a decision. They'll have the opportunity to speak on it, and if they make the same decision again and they say, yes, we want to, then we all have to live with that. But what I don't want to have happen is for us to not take a look at how we can do it instead of why we cannot.
Thank you, Councilor King. Deputy Mayor Siracusa?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Just to address, citizens coming in and speaking on this ordinance, and I will say that every single person that comes to that podium, I have nothing but respect for and listen to 100%, and have reached out to many people the next day after a meeting. But I also know that last fall I went to thousands of homes, and to your point, Councilor King, people are hurting, and it showed, and they made a decision, and those are the folks that I'm thinking about every single day when we make these decisions. We need to make sure the schools are funded. I want to make sure my daughters are in those, great schools that I went to, but we also have to show the town that we are trying our best to make it a little bit better and a little bit easier to live. Yeah, I commend Councilor Carey for all the hard work that you've been putting in, and that whole budget working group. That presentation was extremely informative, so I appreciate you for that. And yeah, I just, you can feel it in the town. People are hurting, and if you're not, then you have a blessed life. And I know that there's many days that I myself and others I know are wondering what might happen, if an emergency strikes. So I believe the time is now to look at things like we were just talking about and see how we can show the town that we are trying.
Thank you, Deputy Mayor. Councilor Carey?
So, thank you, Councilman Syracuse, but I have to say that Councilor King, I keep getting this wrong, I apologize, guys, I'll get it after a while, was a huge help in this budget. As he said, there are many things that, I like to throw out as the best idea, and he's like, no, you can't do that, no, you can't do that. But, and anyway, we worked really well and provided a ton of guidance, and I just truly appreciate your assistance, and also Councilor Balboni's assistance in coming up with numbers and stuff. The $70,000 from the Board of Ed wasn't something that I wanted to cut the Board of Ed, but as you know, the places where we looked for this had nothing to do with teachers, nothing to do with programs. It's really on like page 75 where you have copiers that went up 30%, some other things. So, and even then we left it going up, we just didn't leave it going up quite as much. I know we don't have any say on what gets cut, but we tried to keep it as low as possible. And it's my understanding that Mayor Delnecki did get a chance to talk to Dr. Carter. And I know when I had talked to her and her finance team had mentioned that we thought it would probably get cut about $50,000, and she seemed okay, that she could manage that. So just a little bit higher than that, but it wasn't too bad. But, and Councilman Pendleton, I agree with you that had we known that we were going to go where we were going to go with this, we should have gotten out earlier on the ordinance. But I will tell you that it wasn't until the last budget working group meeting, because quite frankly, everybody was nervous about doing this. And, because it was different and, you had to move a lot of pieces and all that. So it was really this last budget working group meeting, which was a week ago, where we got everybody, kind of rowing in this direction. And so we just didn't have the time. But I totally agree with you that, we probably should have gotten it earlier. We just didn't have the idea until then. So you make a good point. I think when this budget is over, one of the things that we will do is we're going to do lessons learned. Lessons learned. What went well and what did not go well, and what can we do better? I think that, we can change some things. And I think we need to, and I'd be interested in everybody's input in that, but I absolutely think that we want to do that. But I do want to thank, Councilman King, because he was a huge help.
Okay. Seeing no further discussion, we'll move on to 13C. Deputy Mayor Syracuse.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Resolution adopting the Board of Education budget for fiscal year 2024/2025. Be it resolved that the South Windsor Town Council hereby adopts a Board of Education budget with expenditures totaling blank for the fiscal year commencing on July 1st, 2024 and terminating on June 30th, 2025, a copy of which is posted in the town clerk's office.
We have a second?
Second.
Discussion, what is the number that needs to go in there, please?
We have a motion and a second on the table. Any discussion?
You should probably, I would just suggest that somebody makes an amendment to that motion, adding the number out of formality. That would be the best way to do it.
Wow, I was waiting to be recognized. I'm trying to be good.
I know, and that was bad. Councilor Carey.
Haven't been disciplined once this evening. For this, I'd like to make a friendly amendment to the resolution to replace the blank with $94,580,656.
Do I hear a second on the amendment?
Second. Could you please say that slowly?
Sure. $94,580,656. And somebody should print that. Yeah, that's the number.
Is that right?
Yeah, it's not broken down up there. So I broke it down in the assumptions tab in the PowerPoint for anybody who needs it.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Any discussion?
Yes. That's on you're looking at one of your assumptions paperwork here.
Counselor Pendleton.
Okay, so it's right there. Mr. Maniscalco, do you confirm with that number?
That is the correct number that they would have if they were reducing the Board of Ed budget by, I believe, 70,000.
Okay. Okay. The discussion, thank you for that correct number. I'd just like to say that I am against reducing any monies to the Board of Ed, knowing what their needs are and what we are looking at down the road for student enrollment over the next few years, and then we're going to plateau, and those are Dr. Carter's words. So any reduction to the Board of Ed is very, I don't support it. If it is for copying, and maybe they can figure out a better way to copy or do whatever, sure. Reduce paper, I get it, sure. But absolutely, like you said, let's hope that there's no impact to any services. That's not our choice. That's not our choice. So we reduced the 70,000. They now have to make that choice. So I know that they're intelligent enough, and I know they're not going to take away from students or teachers, and they're going to do what they need to do. I support the Board of Ed and the decisions that they have to make going forward. They haven't had a meeting. They have no idea where they're going to reduce $70,000. No idea. None. They haven't met. They haven't talked about it. No one's there. They have no idea. So you're thinking, the copying, it may not be the copying. It may be something else. We can't dictate to them how they spend their money. So I trust that the Board of Ed will make the right decision, and I apologize for reducing the 70,000. I apologize for that. So I would have to support this, though, for you guys, and I apologize for that.
Any further discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Roll call, please.
Counselor Buganski? Counselor Lewis?
No.
Counselor Balboni?
No.
Counselor Carey?
Yes.
Mayor Del Nicky?
Yes.
Deputy Mayor Saracusa?
Yes.
Counselor King? Counselor Pendleton? Oh, I'm sorry. Oh, your name's on my list. Counselor Fitzgerald?
Yes.
Yes, okay. Counselor Pendleton?
Yes, unfortunately, yes, I would really appreciate it, though. I'm sorry, I apologize. Please accept my apologies.
All right. 6 and 3.
We have the tally? Announce it.
6 and 3. 6 yeses, 3 nos.
I think I have a different number.
No, it's three.
Okay, okay. 6-3, thank you.
Okay.
And moving on to item 13D, Counselor Baganski.
Resolution adopting the general government budget for fiscal year 2024-2025. Be it resolved that the South Windsor Town Council hereby adopts a general government budget with expenditures totaling TBD for the fiscal year commencing on July 1, 2024 and terminating on June 30, 2025, a copy of which is posted in the town clerk's office.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Any discussion? Counselor Baganski.
Just quickly want to thank Mr. Maniscalco and his department heads for delivering a zero increase budget as we requested. So should be recognized for that. Thank you.
And Counselor Carey.
So friendly amendment to put the numbers in?
Sure, go ahead.
Okay, so can we replace blank with 40,000,
40 million.
40 million, sorry. Patty,
The total town budget should be $57,277,734.
57 million.
Because it,
$7,277,734. Because that includes debt and capital along with town operating.
okay, all
So you're
together.
adopting everything in one shot.
Okay.
Okay, we had, we have a motion and a second. Any discussion?
Yes.
Counselor Pendleton.
Is this number after a 2 million contribution from the tax stabilization fund? Or is this number based on what was presented to us?
So you're approving the expenditures. You're not approving the revenue side of it. So you're just approving the expenditure number.
Oh, so how we fund that is going to be the surprise? Is that what you're telling me?
Well, we talked about it, so the cat's out of the bag, but yeah.
That's going to be the big surprise in changing the tax stabilization fund and how we fund this?
So
Or what I'm concerned with is that we do this number tonight and we have no way to fund it, and so that next resolution is going to have a percentage rate which can't be based off of the tax stabilization fund monies coming over. It has to be based off of what you're asking for. That's real-time government here.
So you're approving the expenditures. I think it's important everybody understands as you're approving these expenditures, we've heard about a revenue package and the way that revenue package has to work in order to get to the percentage increase that Councilor Carey was proposing. It's important for everybody to understand that in the event that the ordinance is not approved by the town council, then we got to come back to this table and we're going to have some really serious conversations because your budget is not balanced and you have to have a balanced budget. In conversations I've had with Attorney Corella in the process of how this all works, and I understand it's a little bit challenging due to timing and everything else, and I think in a perfect world it may have been done differently, but we're living in this world. The budget does not actually take effect and start working until July 1. The actual transfer of funds wouldn't actually occur till that time. So you have a time period in which you can actually make that modification to the ordinance. I think it's just important that we all understand that as you're approving this budget, in the event that ordinance does not get changed, then we have to sit back down and have a conversation about whether it's $2 or $2.5 million, how we're going to do that.
And nothing says that we have to approve any government town ordinance this evening. We have until the 22nd?
You can't approve of the ordinance this evening because.
I'm
you
sorry,
have to
not
have a
ordinance,
public hearing.
resolution approving the town government budget this evening. We have until the 22nd.
I believe it. In the charter, you have.
The Board of Ed is the 15th.
28.
We have until the 22nd.
Correct.
Is that correct? Yes. Thank you. So, again, I say, even the residents come up and they say, no, don't change this ordinance. The council can go ahead and the majority can go ahead and do what they'd like to do. I understand, people are hurting. I get that. And this is an alternative way of doing it. But if you're going to do it correctly. There's no rush on the government budget because we can do it at our next meeting of the 20th, right? We have a meeting on the 20th, Catherine? We have a meeting on the 20th. So we can have,
I think it's important to note, this is not being done incorrect. It's being done different. Those are two different things. Nothing
it's
in this is
doing,
illegal.
it's being.
I've heard you say illegal, I've heard you say incorrect, and a couple things. You can't characterize it that way. It's being done differently. That's all. It's just different.
Okay,
I get that you're not comfortable with it, and I understand where you're coming from, but I just want to make sure that we're all clear. It's not being done illegally. There's nothing wrong with the way it's being done. It's just different than the way things would have been done.
So
had
why would
had
we have a
extra
special meeting next week to have the public hearing? So then on the 20th, we can approve the government budget and have it all clear, in order, ducks in a row, done correctly. Okay, so that's where I have a problem approving this. The next question is, if we approve this number for expenditures and we go down to the next resolution, we have to put numbers in here. So the percentages that we're putting in here and setting the tax rate and everything else is based off of your number that we would be approving this evening without monies coming from the tax stabilization fund. So the mill rate increase would be the one that is actually presented this evening without the tax stabilization fund.
The monies are coming from the tax stabilization fund. That's part of what the proposal is. The manner in which the tax stabilization fund gets actually funded is after the start of the fiscal year. The tax stabilization fund is an expenditure fund. It talks about
500,000.
It talks
Can be used.
Right now, the annual transfer, not what you're budgeting, not what's going on tonight, the actual annual transfer cannot exceed $500,000 right now.
So that number,
So-
knowing that,
Listen, that's okay, okay? That's how the working group came to the numbers that it's coming to. It is perfectly legal to take into account anticipated revenue. It's perfectly legal to take into account anticipated surplus. You've heard tonight about anticipated surpluses and the manner in which this is really a cash flow problem. You've got to budget for it now. You're going to have to spend it starting July 1 for the fiscal year. You don't know exactly what the revenue is going to be, but you do know you have 3.2 in the tax stabilization fund, and you do know you have cash excess surplus in your general fund. All this proposal does is kind of move that forward in a way that actually is very legal. Your charter says that you have to take into account all sources of revenue, including surpluses and deficits, right? That's what's being done. And the hurdle that you'll face is that come July 1, if you don't change the ordinance, you won't be able to implement the budget. But you can budget for it, and you can plan to use it if you change the ordinance at the next meeting. So I think that's what the goal is. So to Mike's point, and I'm jumping in because I think he's right, you're not doing anything illegal, and it's not unlawful. You're actually acting within the boundaries of the charter, and you're trying to work through the hurdles that you hear Councilor King and others talk about getting this to as low of an increase as possible by using the funds appropriately. You just can't get to them the way you need to get to them, the way it's written right now. So you can change it at the next meeting because you have to have a public hearing about it. I think Councilor Carrier was right. It would have been nice if this idea had come up 2 weeks, 4 weeks ago, right? But that's okay. You're still within the time frame within which you have to work, and you still have the ability to do it the way they're being proposed.
but even with that said, Mr. Maniscalco, can we not move that money over from the general fund and use that surplus that's in the general fund right now and still have 2 months' worth of finances for the town operation? Can't we tap into that 5 million surplus that was discussed? Without changing this ordinance and maybe looking at the ordinance come July after budget time? Can we take money from the government fund, bring it over?
So you don't need it now, first of all. You need it after July 1. Second of all, the funds that come in, if you don't change this ordinance, the glass of water is currently full. You can't put any more water in it because it's going to spill back out into the general fund. That money that goes into the unassigned fund balance, which is the spilled out money, we don't want to move that because that will then impact your credit rating. You don't want to touch that. So if you don't modify your tax stabilization fund, you're going to just have that money swept into the general fund of the unassigned fund balance, and that's where it's going to stay.
And you don't want to touch your fund balance because that's going to affect.
Correct.
But what was said is 2 months, and don't we already have 2 months in there? We're going to end up with more?
Correct.
That would negatively impact us or no?
What, to have more?
Or to take out what's, yeah, the surplus?
Sure, they will not look favorably at that. Because you have a fund that's a tax stabilization fund, right?
Right.
That's in place for you, for a purpose for being used. You have an unassigned fund balance for when it's really raining. And when I say really raining, I mean like monsoon, get the ark ready, we gotta hop on board. This is not the end of the world scenario. This is we're trying to figure out how to make the budget work scenario. They're gonna look unfavorably at that.
Okay, so again, on the next resolution, the percentage of the present budget that was presented to us has to go, the mill rate has to go in there, and the tax mill rate, not with the reduction of the 2 million, but the one that was presented to us, because the 2 million has not taken effect yet.
Well, that's the choice of the council. The council can put in the 2 million, it can decide to put in whatever you wanted. I also think it's important just to look at the scenario that you're now faced with, because you've approved the Board of Ed budget at 94 million. You know, you've basically approved the large portion of the budget already. So, you know, moving forward, you know, to argue over the general government budget, you're not going to change much.
No, I just want the numbers to be right.
Sure.
In the next one, are they going to be what's presented here on this assumption page or the other page that was given to us with the 5.92%, 3.99%? What numbers are going to be put in this next resolution? Are they going to be the numbers that were presented to us in real time? Or are we going to put numbers in here after 2 million is moved over from the tax stabilization fund? Now, I have a problem with this because we are lying if we go with the tax stabilization fund monies. I am not a liar, and I will not do something unless it's legally done, and that's by a vote of this council. So we need to look at the numbers that we are presently sitting in, which are actual factual numbers. Because as you said, it may not pass, but I'm sure it will, because that's what the Republicans will choose to do, even if the residents say no. So for us to pass something that is false information based off lack of actions is not reputable for this council to do.
Okay.
So that's why I'm asking you,
the
what numbers would go in here?
So to be transparent, the numbers that would go in there are the ones under the recommended column on the presentation that was given to you by Councilor Carey, if that is the decision of what the council wants to move forward with. It's not my decision what numbers to put in, but from what I'm reading in terms of the room, those would be the numbers that would end up going in there.
Oh, okay, I see. All right, thank you.
Councilor Carey?
So I just want to clarify something. One, the tax stabilization fund currently has $3.2 million in it, okay? So the 2.5 million will come from that 3.2 million. The reason it's going to be important to raise the maximum is that the money won't pull from the tax stabilization fund, and I was doing this on a whiteboard the other day, it was a whole lot easier, but the money won't pull from the tax stabilization fund until you're into the new year, okay? But if we don't raise that maximum, when we get this 2.5 million surplus, and if the max is 3 million, you're not gonna be able to put that extra 2.5 in there, right? So we wanna raise that so that at the end of the year, on June 30th, when we have that surplus, we can flow that money in. It will bring the tax stabilization up to probably around, I don't know, 5.5, 5.2, 5.5 million. And then we will be taking 2.5 million sometime in the 24-25 fiscal year out of that, and it will still have a substantial balance in it. So that's the reason for raising the maximum. And so it isn't that anything we're doing here is wrong. I totally agree with you. Timing, ideal timing would have been better, but it isn't lying, it isn't fraud. I mean, there is 3.2 million today in the tax stabilization fund. Patty, I have this right? Okay. So the 2.5 is in there. We're raising it, the max, so that on June 30th, when we have 2 to 2.5 million surplus, there's room to pull it in there so that, you know, we don't lose out on that money. If that makes sense.
Counselor Fitzgerald.
Thank you, Mayor. I just had a quick question. So with this ordinance that we are going to have to do, at the same time that we're raising the maximum that we can put in there, will we also be raising the amount that we can take out of there? Because right now, the current max is 500,000. So what will that go up to?
I think it will be up to us. My recommendation would be bring it to 3. Because if we bring the max to 6, then if you bring it to 3, it would be half. But I mean, you know, whatever you guys. Okay?
Okay, thank you.
Seeing no further discussion. All is in favor? Aye.
Aye.
As opposed? No. Abstentions? Roll call, please.
Counselor Buganski? Counselor Lewis?
Aye.
Counselor Balboni?
Aye.
Counselor Carey?
Aye.
Mayor Delnicki?
Yes.
Deputy Mayor Saracusa?
Yes.
Counselor King? Yes. Counselor Fitzgerald?
Yes.
Counselor Pendleton? No. All right. 8 and 1. 8 yeses,
8
1 no.
yeses, 1 no, motion carries. Moving on to 13E. Counselor Pendleton.
Resolution adopting the budget for the Recreation Special Revenue Fund for fiscal year 2024-2025. Be it resolved that the South Windsor Town Council hereby adopts a budget for the Recreation Special Revenue Fund with expenditures totaling $3,347,365 for the fiscal year commencing on July 1, 2024, and terminating on June 30th, 2025, a copy of which is posted in the Town Clerk's office.
We have a second? Second. We have a motion, I have a second. Any discussion? Counselor Pendleton.
Oh, I'm sorry. Mr. Maniscalco, the Special Revenue Fund is what the Park and Rec Department is. What comes out of that Special Revenue Fund? Is that the monies from the programming that folks pay for? Or is that portion of ours that we contribute?
No, so those are not taxpayer funds. Those are funds that go in there from people who are using the programs, and then it pays for those programs.
Okay, thank you.
Seeing no further discussion, all those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions? Seeing none, motion carries. Moving on to 13F. Counselor Carey.
Be it resolved that the tax rate of blank mills be levied on the grand list of October 1st, 2023, based upon total revenues excluding non-tax revenues of blank, which includes an appropriation from fund balance in the amount of 0 and an appropriation from the Tax Stabilization Fund in the amount of $2.5 million to finance total expenditures of blank, made up of a Board of Education budget of $94,580,656, a capital projects budget of $3,364,567, and a general government budget of $57,277 and no. Okay, Patty, I need you because here's where we're subtracting some of these from here, right?
So the town budget in this section should be $53,913,167, because you're calling out capital projects.
Okay, so can you say that again?
$53,913,167.
167.
Because that amount is minus the capital projects,
Right.
correct? Which is $3,464,567.
Correct. Sure, we can do it again. I do need Patty for non-tax revenues because of the motor vehicle thing there. So we'll start again. Be it resolved that the tax rate of 34.46 mils be levied on the grand list of October 1st, 2023, based upon total revenues excluding non-tax revenues of
$23,356,475. $23,356,475.
34.46. Total revenues excluding non-tax revenues of $23,356,475, which includes an appropriation from fund balance in the amount of 0 and an appropriation from the tax stabilization fund in the amount of $2.5 million. Total expenditures of
53.
No, that's the government budget of $151,858,390.
$151,858,390.
Made up of a Board of Education budget of $94,580,656, a capital projects budget of $3,364,567, and a general government budget of $53,913,167, all of which have been adopted by the
Yes.
South Windsor Town Council for the fiscal year commencing on July 1st, 2024, and terminating on June 30th, 2025.
The last three?
Board of Education budget of what?
$94,580,656.
Capital projects budget of what?
$3,364,567. And general government budget of $53,913,167.
Thank you.
Okay, I got a motion and a second. And Counselor Carey.
Oh, sorry, I didn't.
No other comments? Counselor Pendleton.
So the numbers that are in this resolution for the fiscal year, the town government budget is $53,932,000, and we just approved something for $57,277,000. They're two different numbers.
That's because you took capital out.
What's that?
That's because capital is separated out on this.
Up on the top one?
No, on the top one, it includes capital and debt. The bottom one, capital is separated out.
Oh, capital is separated out of the bottom one.
Correct.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Then wouldn't that number be lower? Oh, gotcha, it is. Thank you, sorry.
Counselor Balboni.
So I want to go back to thanking Mike as well. We came in here hoping to keep everything flat, and you delivered. Unfortunately, the Board of Education did not or could not. So we're stuck with this where taxes are going to go up. Thankfully, they're not going up as much as they did last year, where personally, I was punished with almost $300 a month extra in taxes. This year, it looks like I'm going to get hit with about 30 or 40 bucks. That's really not bad, and I really appreciate you doing what you said you would do. I'm also going to vote no on this resolution, only because the Board of Ed budget's in there, and I completely disagree with that. I've been open about it since the beginning, that I wanted $6,429,000 cut from it, plus the $10 million from last year, which was told we can't do. It seems that was a lot of things we were told we couldn't do on the working group, including cutting capital projects, some of which have been proposed that I completely disagree with. But again, we couldn't cut that without a seventh member of the council agreeing to it, and we were told there was no way to get that seventh counselor. The only other thing we could come up with was using the tax stabilization fund, which Councilor Carey came up with, we all agreed with. For some reason, it's causing an awful lot of confusion tonight, but I'm glad we're hopefully past that and we can get that done in 2 weeks and get this budget done and out there and hopefully satisfy the majority of the South Windsor residents. Thanks.
Deputy Mayor Siracusa.
Yeah, I'd like to call to the question.
Okay, call the question. We had a,
Excuse me, I have questions.
but he called the question. There's no discussion.
It's about the budget. We should have a right to ask questions about the budget.
When they make a motion, I understand. No discussion.
That's fine. You can just shut everybody down and ask questions about the budget.
We had a motion and a second. All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, say no.
No.
Any abstentions? Roll call, please.
Counselor Buganski? Counselor Lewis? Counselor Balboni?
Aye.
Counselor Carey?
Aye.
Mayor Del Nicky?
Yes.
Deputy Mayor Siracusa?
Yes.
Counselor King? Yes. Counselor Fitzgerald? Counselor Pendleton? No. All right, 8 and 1.
8-1, motion passes. Moving on to item 13G, Counselor Balboni.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Resolution appointing a rate maker for fiscal year 2024-2025. Be it resolved that the South Windsor Town Council hereby appoints Michael Maniscalco, Town Manager, as rate maker for fiscal year 2024-2025, and postpones consideration of this motion until the Town Council's next regularly scheduled meeting.
We have a motion and a second. Any further any discussion? Counselor Balboni? Seeing no discussion, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Abstentions? Motion carries. Moving on to item 13H, Deputy Mayor Siracusa.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Resolution authorizing the town manager, Michael Maniscalco, to contribute $2,000 to South Windsor High School's 2024 Operation Graduation Fund. Be it resolved that the South Windsor Town Council hereby authorizes town manager, Michael Maniscalco, to contribute $2,000 to South Windsor High School's 2024 Operation Graduation Fund. Said funds to be taken out of the town manager's professional account.
Second.
We have a motion, we have a second. Any discussion?
Yep, here, sorry,
I don't see your, oh, there it is, your bottle's in the way.
I apologize.
Counselor Fitzgerald.
Just wanted to say to everyone on the council, as someone who has a graduate in the class of 2024 coming up, thank you very much for the contribution to Operation Graduation. As one of the first classes that had an Operation Graduation, it's definitely a safe way for them to spend graduation night. So thank you very much for the contribution.
Thank you, Counselor Fitzgerald. Any further discussion? Deputy Mayor?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Yeah, I second that, Councilor Fitzgerald. I too participated in that, and I think I won like a CD player for my dorm room, which was awesome, but it definitely, even as a child, I could recognize that I was in a safe place. So yeah, it's a great thing to be contributing to.
May I, Madam Mayor, sorry, may I ask a question of the town attorney?
Sure.
Since I have a daughter in this graduating class, should I abstain from this vote, or is it kosher?
It's fine. It's to the Windsor High School Operation Graduation Fund. It's not to your daughter personally, so I think you can vote on it.
Thank you.
Okay, with a motion and a second, no more discussion. All those in favor, say aye. Aye. Opposed, abstentions, seeing none, motion carries. Moving on to 13I, Counselor King, did you drink enough of water to read that?
Oh, boy. Resolution waiving the bidding process. Whereas Connecticut General Statute 4A-53A allows the Commissioner of Administrative Services, i.e. the Commissioner, to serve as the contracting agent for a group of 3 or more municipalities that seek to purchase supplies, materials, or equipment upon the request of the such group, provided that 1, the Commissioner determines that the group will achieve a cost savings through the Commissioner serving as a contracting agent, and 2, such cost savings are greater than the administrative cost to the state. And whereas Connecticut General Statute 7-148VB allows the town of South Windsor, i.e. the town, to purchase equipment, supplies, materials, or services from the list of eligible entities listed in the statute, and whereas the town is constrained in its ability to purchase equipment, supplies, materials pursuant to the town charter, section 714, i.e. section 714, and whereas pursuant to section 714, the town has a $5,000 cap on purchases without the town manager inviting sealed bids or proposals or getting the town council to waive such bidding process. And whereas section 714 is a constraint on the town's ability to achieve cost savings because during the waiver process, supplies disappear or the opportunity to implement cost savings has changed. And whereas, as the town council has determined that requiring sealed bids for purchases greater than $5,000 is not in the best interest of the town. Now, therefore, be it resolved that notwithstanding section 714, the town council authorizes the town manager to participate with the state of Connecticut contracting programs for the purchase of supplies, materials, or equipment pursuant to Connecticut General Statute 4A-53A. Be it further resolved that notwithstanding section 714, the town council authorizes the town manager to purchase equipment, supplies, materials, or services from the list of eligible entities listed in Connecticut General Statute 7-148VB. Further resolved, notwithstanding section 714, the town council has determined that the $5,000 threshold requiring sealed bids for the purchase of equipment, supplies, or materials is an impediment to the efficient operations of the town and is not in the best interest of the town, and hereby authorizes the town manager to waive the bidding requirements for the purchase of equipment, supplies, or materials for contracts valued at $25,000 or less for the remainder of the 2024-2025 fiscal year. Further resolved that nothing in this resolution shall abrogate the provisions of Charter Section 1001 requiring disclosure of financial interests by any elected or appointed town official, board, or commission member or employee.
We have a second.
Second.
And a motion. We have a second.
You do. Whatever, dude. You stay right there. Thank you, Madam Mayor.
Any discussion on that, Counselor King, or?
No, not at all. I just wanted to keep it on for as long as I possibly could.
Deputy Mayor Siracusa?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Just to be clear, is this the same resolution that we voted on last council and then, okay?
Correct. Yeah, so I can kind of answer a little bit for everybody. You know, during the last council, and I even believe previous to that, we really found that with the inflation going up, there were a number of issues with being able to get projects done and purchase supplies and equipment for the town with the threshold that's in the town charter of $5,000. That got us to a point where we asked the council to pass this resolution, which ups that value to $25,000 essentially, And then additionally, it also started the Charter Revision Commission, which I believe this is one of the items they've been asked to look at. So it only lasts for the term of the upcoming budget. So once the upcoming budget ends, then it goes away. And that's why you have to pass another one now, because this goes hand in hand with the actual budget process, so.
Thank you. Yeah, in my opinion, that number's still too low. I know we have some folks in here from the Charter Revision Committee, so, and to put it on record, hopefully they're taking a look at that. And hopefully we can change that from 5,000 to at least 25,000 permanently, in the charter. Thank you.
This was my favorite resolution, because it came up twice in the last council. And as a member of the public, I was against it, because personally for me, it seemed to circumvent the charter. And it's great that we have the Charter Revision Commission working on the charter. And even though it raised the threshold of 5,000, because it is low, I still don't like the resolution, so just putting it out there, my vote is going to be no. And seeing no further discussion, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? No. Any abstentions? Seeing none, roll call.
Counselor Buganski? Counselor Lewis? Counselor Balboni?
Aye.
Counselor Carey?
Aye.
Mayor Delnicki?
No.
Deputy Mayor Saracusa?
Yes.
Counselor King? Yes. Counselor Fitzgerald?
Yes.
Counselor Pendleton? Yes. All right, 8-1.
Thank you. Motion passes 8-1. Thank you. Moving on to item 13J, Counselor Balboni.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Resolution setting a time and place for a public hearing to receive citizen input on amendments to the, Resolution setting a time and place for a public hearing to receive citizen input on amendments to the amendments to ordinance. That's not right. Yeah, be it resolved that the South Windsor Town Council hereby sets Monday, May 20th, 2024 at 8:30 p.m. in the council chambers of the South Windsor Town Hall, 1540 Sullivan Avenue, South Windsor, Connecticut, as the time and place for a public hearing to receive citizen input on amendments to ordinance number 222, Tax Stabilization Fund Program, and is more fully described in Exhibit B.
We have a second?
Second.
We have a motion, we have a second. Any discussion? Do you have anything? Councilor Pendleton?
So again, Exhibit B that's in our packet is the current ordinance, correct? Are we going to see an ordinance, because it's saying that it's in this resolution? Okay, are we going to see the changes prior to the public hearing? Are they going to be sent to us on this ordinance? On the changes? From you, Town Attorney?
Not from me, but yes. They need to be reviewed by me, but I haven't seen any document yet actually increasing the number and I have a couple of changes of my own, having reviewed this again, so.
So besides the dollar changes, you got other changes?
Yes.
Because I know the dollar changes were good, sorry.
That's okay. Go ahead, I just didn't hear you.
Yeah, because the dollar changes that we're going to change are what we did in the resolutions prior, the 2 million, raise the threshold.
Maybe
And
for the
then-
sake of clarification, can you repeat those? Because I'm not exactly clear on what the thresholds are. I know $3 million for a maximum expenditure and $6 million for the total in the fund.
Yeah, do you want, Councilor Carey, maybe, since it was your plan?
So,
Where is that?
it shall be a maximum of 6 million instead of the 3 million? And then instead of a maximum annual transfer shall be 500,000 in any one fiscal year, you know, and
Oh,
again,
wait. That's only based off of the recommendations from the budget working group? That's not based off of this council making any decision.
right, so I think anybody else can say anything they want.
Oh, so between now and the public hearing, we can contact you with our,
You're the town council, I'm not.
Right.
If you want to propose an ordinance amendment, you should put it together and propose it. My job is to review it, make sure that it complies with state and federal law. That's why I have one tweak to the reference to the statute that's in here is not correctly cited, so I'm going to tweak that. But other than that, the dollar numbers are up to you to put in, not up to me. That's
So
why
we're
I'm
gonna-
asking,
right.
what exactly are you proposing here?
but that wasn't even done by a vote or a resolution. That was just by discussion
That's
from the
what you're
budget
doing
working group.
right now.
So we should maybe have a resolution on that is created for the 20th, or to get sent to the changes to the town attorney, or you just can't pull a number out of your hat that says, this is what we want to do.
I agree with you. I mean, the budget working group made a recommendation of, you know, $3 million in any one fiscal year and a maximum of $6 million. So if somebody else wants to change that to some other numbers, I think during our discussion right now, we could change it.
And let me also add this, you know, you should put some numbers in there for right now for the next public hearing. The public hearing will have an opportunity for the citizens to have input. You'll have further discussion about it at that time. You may choose to amend it further at that time. It's a holding number at this point.
So the resolution's going to come up at the next meeting with the correct numbers in there.
It's not a resolution. It's an ordinance. It's law. You're proposing a law change.
I
Okay?
understand
You
that,
need
but
to
we have that.
You need to come up with what that language is. It has to be published so that the public can come and comment on it, right? They
So
think
should we
it's too
not have a
high. They think it's
resolution?
too low. They have the right to comment on it. You have the further right and obligation to continue to debate on it after hearing them and
Right.
make a decision.
But should we not have a resolution based on this council on what numbers we're going to be putting into the changes?
No, you don't have to have a resolution about it. You just have to put it forward as a proposed ordinance, like you're doing,
proposed ordinance?
like you're doing right now.
Just a discussion?
Yeah.
It doesn't have to be a vote for the whole council?
No.
Oh.
It has to be an ordinance that you put forward for a public hearing. It does have to be voted on.
Right, for the ordinance change.
But you don't have to, it's not gonna be, it has to be voted on. What the resolution that you're voting on right now is to move this item to a public hearing, okay? And I guess your question is, okay, what are we moving forward to the public hearing? You're moving forward your amendments to ordinance 222.
But what amendments? We haven't agreed on
That's-
amendments.
That's what you're
That's what
talking
I'm
about.
saying. We haven't agreed on any amendments. All we've had is discussion. There's not been a resolution.
And
There's
that's
not
what this
been-
is. We can have a discussion right now. So we're proposing,
Go ahead. Proposing.
the 6 million as the cap instead of 3, which right now it's over, it's 3.2, with a maximum, I think, Councilor Carey, did you say a maximum to remove?
Yeah, maximum
To
annual
use?
transfer shall be $3 million. Again, that's proposed. If somebody likes.
So you want a consensus for this evening to move forward with that proposed changes to the ordinance?
You know, if somebody wants 2.5 million, that's okay, or 3.5, you know.
We have a consensus of the proposed changes?
No, not for me.
Thumbs up?
We have a consensus of the changes, Councilor King? Councilor King?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I'm fine with it only because all we're doing is moving this to a public hearing.
Correct.
If the public hearing comes back and they say no, then we have a discussion on that. From what I understand, from my limited knowledge, is that the only thing that our attorney is tweaking is the language just to make sure that it's all legal. But in terms of the numbers, because Council Kiara, she already knows where I'm at, in terms of she's pushing that 3 million. She's been pushing it for a while now. No, I don't necessarily agree with that. However, that's not what this is for. This is just saying we'll put it out there. Everybody's going to come back, say what they want, and then we can vote on it at that particular time, if I'm understanding everything correctly. No, okay, so.
The resolution is just to bring this forward to a
Right,
public hearing.
that's it. Yep, that's it. So I just wanted to just be clear on that. That's all it is 6 million, 3 million. Here's tweaks, send it to us, goes to the public, boom, boom, bang. They come back, we say yay or nay, and we keep it moving. Okay, just so I'm clear. Thank you.
Counselor Lewis?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. So the language has already been written. Here it is. Nice job on the ordinance. All we're doing is changing the numbers. That's it. Right? That's all we're asking the public to do. May we do that? And here's the language.
Because the public might come back and say, only put 5 million.
Right.
Or they may say they put 7. So, okay, we have a consensus for these changes. We have a motion on the floor and a second. Deputy Mayor?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I just want to make a friendly amendment to just the title for the minutes to strike where it says A, amendments to the on, to strike that. So it would read citizen input on amendments to ordinance number 222 tax stabilization fund program.
We have a second on the amendment of the title.
Second.
We have a second and a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor of the amendment, say aye. Aye. Any abstentions? Roll call, please.
Excuse me. Counselor Buganski?
Aye.
Counselor Lewis? Aye. Counselor Balboni?
Aye.
Counselor Carey?
Aye.
Mayor Delnicki?
Yes.
Deputy Mayor Siracusa?
Yes.
Counselor King?
Yes.
Counselor Fitzgerald?
Aye.
And Counselor Pendleton? No. 8 yeses, 1 no.
And motion passes 8-1. Okay. Moving on to 13K, Counselor
Madam Mayor,
Buganski.
Madam Mayor, you got to vote on the resolution.
Oh.
That was just vote on the amendment.
Thank you, Attorney Corella. Okay, all those in favor, we had a motion and a second. All those in favor of the amended resolution? All those in favor? All those opposed? No. Abstentions? Roll call, please.
Counselor Buganski?
Aye.
Counselor Lewis? Aye. Counselor Balboni?
Aye.
Counselor Carey?
Aye.
Mayor Delnicki?
Yes.
Deputy Mayor Siracusa?
Yes.
Counselor King? Yes. Counselor Fitzgerald?
Aye.
Counselor Pendleton? No. 8 yeses, 1 no.
And resolution passes 8-1. Now on to 13K, Counselor Buganski.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Resolution approving a flag to be flown over the town of South Windsor in honor of National Police Week. Be it resolved that the South Windsor Town Council hereby approves a request to fly the National Law Enforcement Officers Memorial Flag from May 12, 2024 through May 18, 2024, and ask the town manager, Michael Maniscalco, to have the flag raised on the flagpole at the Wapping Community House on Sunday, May 12, 2024, and lowered on Saturday, May 18, 2024, in honor of National Police Week.
We have a motion and a second. Any discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions? Seeing none, motion carries. 13L, Counselor Pendleton.
Resolution approving a flag to be flown over the town of South Windsor in honor of Public Works Week. Be it resolved that the South Windsor Town Council hereby approves a request to fly the Public Works flag from May 19th, 2024 through May 25th, 2024, and asks the town manager, Michael Maniscalco, to have the flag raised on the flagpole at the Wapping Community House on Sunday, May 19th, 2024, and lowered on Sunday, May 25th, 2024, in honor of Public Works Week. And
We have a motion and a second. Counselor Pendleton?
Mr. Maniscalco, instead of putting them up Sunday through a Saturday, those aren't really work days for our public works people or our parks people to put up those flags. Can we change those days to Friday and Monday, or Friday to Friday, or something like that?
It's already built into their contract, so we do have people that are working during those times, so we'll be able to.
Okay, that's not a problem?
Yep.
Okay, thank you.
Counselor Balboni?
Yeah, what's a public works flag?
So I believe it's a black flag with an orange stripe on it.
Not a skull and crossbones?
No,
Just checking.
that would be the Pirates.
We have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Seeing none, motion carries. Moving on to 13M, Deputy Mayor Siracusa.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Resolution approving one early voting location for the August 13th, 2024 primary. Be it resolved that under CTPA 23-5 as amended by PA 23-203, the Town of South Windsor Town Council approves the recommendation made by the registrars of voters to designate one location for the conduct of early voting for the state primaries on August 13th, 2024.
We have a second? We have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Seeing none, motion carries. Moving on to 13N, Counselor Lewis.
For 7 tax refunds totaling $1,566.82. Be it resolved that the South Windsor Town Council hereby approves 7 refunds, the total of said refunds being $1,566.82. It is more fully described in Exhibit C.
Do we have a second?
Second.
Any discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? Seeing none, motion carries. Moving on to 14, passages of ordinance, having none. Item 15, public input for any matter. Public input for any matter over which the council has jurisdiction shall not exceed 30 minutes. When recognized by the mayor, speakers shall approach the lectern, give their name and address. Speakers shall avoid personal attacks or impugning or alleging an improper motive to any person. The speakers may address the council on any item over which the council has jurisdiction. The speakers shall limit their speaking time to 5 minutes. Yes, Mr. Dillon.
Hello. Wanted to wait till you got done reading all that.
I saw you coming.
So, as I understand tonight's boondoggle, where I guess most houses are looking at like a $30 a month increase. Did I get that correct? With the way we've moved money. So I applaud. I wouldn't do it quite the way that the people that voted. I would have probably done it another way, but I applaud you people that voted tonight to hold the budget at a reasonable amount. I still think that in future years, and let me remind you, I'm a graduate of the South Windsor school system. My son is a graduate. I have 3 grandchildren in the school system now. I want it to function. It's an albatross hanging around our neck. I know Kate Carter's going to come in for another 7.95 or 7.65 increase next year. You need to start thinking about that now and figuring out how we're going to do it. Now, with only a limited high school education, I decided to do some comparisons. Town of South Windsor, 144 plus. I'm not going to get into the minutia. 144 million plus budget. 26,054 residents. Cost of $5,558 per resident to run this town. Schools, plowing, okay? Windsor, $130 million budget. 29,000 residents, $4,472 per year. 1,086 less than us. Is Windsor any less? doing a less capable job. Ellington, $68 million budget, 16,000 residents, $41.88 per resident, $1,370 less than the town of South Windsor. East Hartford, a couple of caveats with this one, $211 million budget, but they have 51,000 residents, $4,139 per resident, $1,419 less per resident than the town of South Windsor. They have 11 elementary schools, 1 middle school, 1 high school, and a paid fire department that's worth $6 to $8 million a year. How did they do it? Middletown, $228 million budget, 48,000 residents, $4,679 per resident, $879 less than South Windsor. They have 8 elementary schools, 1 middle school, 1 high school, 1 fully paid fire department, worth 5 to 6 probably. Now, I always hear we want to compare ourselves and be like Glastonbury and West Hartford. Glastonbury, $183 million budget, 35,000 residents, $5,196 per resident, $362 less than the town of South Windsor. And here's the good one. West Hartford, my old alma mater, $331 million budget. But they have 64,000 residents. They give a program to their residents, all encompassed, $5,166. They do it for $392 less than the town of South Windsor. What does West Hartford have? Very much like Middletown and East Hartford. They have 11 elementary schools, 3 middle schools, 2 high schools. They have the coveted indoor pool. They've had it for 35 years. And they have a fully paid fire department worth about $8 million. South Windsor does not have a revenue problem. South Windsor has a spending problem. South Windsor has a managerial problem, no offense, Mike, and with the school board, and they have an oversight problem with the Board of Ed, with the council, not overseeing the expenditures properly in this town. We are the most expensive town per resident of the ones that I compared. I'm sure there's some others that are going to be more expensive. Find them for me. We don't have a spending problem. I mean, we do have a spending problem, and we need to address it. We have 12 months now to work on a 2% budget that would probably be okay with the residents of the town, because hopefully they might get a couple of bones thrown their way in a raise. Probably not, but I'm always hoping. Thank you for your time.
Thank you, Mr. Dillon. Mr. Zimmerman?
Yeah, Craig Zimmerman, 5 AM Auto Drive, currently a member of the Board of Ed. I certainly wasn't going to speak, but I just have to. Great numbers. I'm not exactly sure what they all mean, because we're comparing towns. We're not talking about how much state revenue they get, federal revenue they get, how many seniors they have versus students, the fact that South Windsor is growing in enrollment and all those school districts are declining. I didn't hear there that I think there's only 6 or 7 school districts in the state that spend less per child than South Windsor on education. I didn't hear that. I didn't hear that we spend less per child for education than every school district in our DIRG. I heard earlier in the meeting, I wasn't going to comment, that somehow we should reduce the Board of Education's budget by $6 million or $16 million. I don't know what world people are living in. If we could turn people away from our school district, the people moving into town, if we could arbitrarily, I don't know, take every 20th kid and send them out of South Windsor to another school district, maybe the math works. None of that's a reality. None of that's what we want to do. A 2% overall, I mean, people congratulated the town manager for coming in at a 0, and I guess I give him credit for the math, but I guess my question would be at what cost? And how long are you going to be able to do that and still have the town that we have? Talking about arbitrary 2% increases, throwing that out as a given, when we know next year the school district is going to continue to grow, don't even think about that, because that's not a possibility. That's not a reality. Taxes this year would have gone up, I think it's 6.5%, if we didn't take 2.5 million out of tax stabilization. So spin it however you want. Taxes really went up. Spending went up. Taxes could have gone up 6.5. We found some money in a savings account. That's great. Maybe next year it'll still be there. We're going to have an issue in this town for a number of years because of our fastest growing school district, and that's a good thing. Anybody trying to sell their home in South Windsor knows it's a good thing to have a school district that people want to go to. Most of the towns, with all due respect, that was just listed, those are not school districts that people are going to run to go to. You know, with due respect, they probably have great teachers, people working extremely hard, but there are some negatives on that list. You know, I don't know. I hope we can have some better discussions, because just throwing out numbers and comparing towns doesn't get us anywhere. And thinking that you're going to potentially cut $16 million from a school budget, that's not going to play well in this town. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Zimmerman. Anyone else would like to come forward at this time for any matter? Anyone who'd like to come and speak on any matter? Going once, twice, seeing none. Moving on to item 16, communications from the council. Councilor Pendleton. You had a light on. Councilor King.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Just a couple of things. One, I want to compliment the team that works with Mr. Maniscalco over at the Senior Center. They put out a great binder, I'll call it, which is sponsored, which is huge. They do a great job with it. The only reason that I bring that up is I encourage anyone and everyone. I think that one of the things that we have in this town is we have a number of people, and actually probably our whole country, that act as if. They act as if their pockets are heavy with money. They act as if they have their life together. They act as if their children may not be suffering from depression, mental health issues. They act as if their children are A students. They act as if they have it all together. What I'm thankful for in regards to our people that work over at the Senior Center is this green sheet here that has social services on there. There's a number of things for anyone, and I admittedly had to use it for myself a couple of years back, because I had to humble myself and recognize that, you know what? I did lose my job during the pandemic. Maybe I do have to go to a food line. I remember so many years back, before everybody recognized what COVID-19 really was, that there was a huge misnomer that anybody that went to get free breakfast and free lunch from our school was someone that was taking from the government, calling it socialism and pull yourself up by your bootstraps. Well, the reality, as we later found out, was that people were losing their jobs and losing income hand over fist. And what started at the beginning of COVID-19 and the pandemic with only 3 cars in the line at South Windsor High School ended up going around the corner twice over. That you almost couldn't get food. I say that to say that you're doing an excellent job, and anybody that needs help, there's an energy assistance line. Applications for that energy assistance are going to close on May 31st. I said it earlier, I'll say it again. There's property tax relief for our elderly and disabled until May 15th. There's a renter's rebate if you live at Watson Farm, Berry Patch, Hillcrest. All you have to do is provide certain documents and you can get certain rebates. As a brother spoke about earlier, the spending, expenditures, whatever. At the end of the day, there's money there. You just have to go and ask for it to get it. And so I'm commending that they put this information out there. You guys have it. It's on their website. Check it out, and please humble yourself and say, you know what, I do need some help, because that's what it's there for. Just a point of clarification, just for our whole council, actually. When we put things at the top, for example, where it said resolution adopting the budget for the Recreation Special Revenue Fund for fiscal year, we're not really voting on the title. We're really just, if we really wanted to do it, all we need to do is just read, be it resolved, just for a point of clarification. That's only to help, I don't know who started that, but that's just to help anybody that's outside of the council know this is what we're about to talk about. But we're not necessarily voting on that. I will say that I recognize the fact that, especially with our seniors and those that no longer have children in the school system, I do get it. I'm about to be that. Yes, Roman high school, so 9th, 10th, 11th, 12th, 4 years. However, I will say, especially to my fellow counselors, who I respect that you guys have your opinions, that at a certain point, especially if you had children in the school system, you used the school system when you had it. The fact that you may not have children in the school system now, that's not really how you go about cutting back. You can't take the benefits when you have it, and then when you have people coming behind you say, no, we don't want to do that anymore. Again, I respect the vote. However, I disagree in terms of why. I think if we really wanted to cut back our school system, we would be in a terrible place, and my man left already. However, I've yet to meet anyone yet that doesn't say when they moved to South Windsor, I know that's why I came. And I'm not going to belabor the point, but I do just want to say that I am thankful that we keep putting money into our school system, because the residents that move here for that, they're paying top dollar for their house. I praise the Lord that I bought our house 4 or 5 years ago. Because, I mean, if I want to sell it now, hey. But Roman's still in the school system. But I'm just saying that the people that are moving here now, they're paying top dollar because they say this school graduates, and that's the only thing, and I've said this before, the only thing that we are ever missing from when the school system brings their budget to us, in my opinion, is our graduation rate. And how many scholarships do our students get? How can I say that? Because Sophia is at the University of Southern Maine, graduating South Windsor High School, and she got money out the wazoo. Thank you, Jesus. Because she graduated from South Windsor High School. There are a number of students, if you had the graduation that, or went to the graduation, and you'll be going there one day, brother, that they had 2 and 3 and 4 stars after their name because they specialize in 3 and 4 and 5 different languages that our school offers. And they got scholarships to Harvard, Columbia, Yale, the top schools. That's the only thing that I would encourage our Board of Ed to do next time they come through, is to show, because I think that will say to us as counselors and to our citizens, even our seniors that, have a difference of opinion, this is what we're putting out. These are the students that will call, as I think Mr. Balboni and Counselor Fitzgerald also said, they both graduated, right? And they had their conversation, and hey, we're alumni of South Windsor. There's a reason for that. That's a blessing. And so I just wanted to say that when we move forward, because this is not, as Counselor Pendleton said, this is not going away, but it's also a good problem to have. Thank you.
Counselor Balboni?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I just wanted to make a note that this month's actually Mental Health Awareness Month. I thought that's where you were going with that, and everybody else has stolen everything I wanted to say tonight, so I was like, oh, great, here we go again. But May is Mental Health Awareness Month. Since its inception in 1949, Mental Health Awareness Month has been a cornerstone of addressing the challenges faced by millions of Americans living with mental health conditions. Throughout the month, I urge you to actively participate in this national movement and dedicate to eradicating stigma, extending support, fostering public education, and advocating for policies that prioritize the well-being of individuals and families affected by mental illness. As my fellow counselor said, COVID caused a lot of problems, and I believe it's brought up a lot of more maybe latent mental illness. This thing right here causes an awful lot of mental illness, or at least a lot of problems with bullying and other issues. A lot of that needs to be paid attention to in our schools, in our town. I don't want to reach, but state, country, everything. I'm also going to let those top schools slide, but thank you.
Councilor Deputy Mayor Siracusa.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. First, I just want to congratulate Councilor Fitzgerald again for being appointed. I'm really looking forward to working with you and seeing what you bring to the council and to the town. And then I also want to mention that last Thursday, I had the honor of attending 2 different National Day of Prayer services, events, whatever you want to call them. It was very beautiful. One was at VMP and one was actually at Avery Street Church, where Toby worships. And I'm just so thankful to be obviously in a country, but also a town that's so accepting of really many different religions and forms of worship. So I know my neighbors to my left and my right and myself, there's 3 different religions alone, and we all love each other and help each other. So I just thought that was a really somber day, and I was really thankful to play a part of that.
Councilor Pendleton.
Yeah, I just have a question. Was the National Day of Prayer, Kathy, sent to all of us as an invitation to all of us? Because I didn't see it. So I'm just asking in the future if there's... Oh, the church sent it. Okay. Okay. So any invitations, if you could please share with the whole council, I'd really appreciate it. Thank you. And Mr. Maniscalco, the budget that was voted on this evening with a 0% budget, is that, or 0% increase, is that the same number that of the present budget that we're working in?
No, it's not, because there's certain revenues that we identified through the budget that I did that helped offset increases for labor and other things.
So we're going to have a bit of an increase.
There's an expenditures increase, but we also found new revenues in the
Okay.
process of even putting together just my budget alone.
Okay. So with that said, I just want to say this. As the mayor last year, and I want to say that I thank that whole council that sat with me last year that had the courage to raise the budget within our community to meet the needs of the government and the Board of Education. And unfortunately, because we've done that, the Republicans at this point in time do not have a large increase or decrease to any of our budgets. We were very brave and we were very courageous, and we looked at the reality of our community and the needs of our government and the Board of Education. And yes, moving forward, it's still going to be there. It's still going to be there because of the student increase. It's still going to be there because of our town needs, our capital projects needs. To deny ADA, which we could be fined for, is very serious. So I would hope that this council looks into ways to fund revenue streams that would help with any budgets moving forward. And I'd just like to say thank you.
Okay, seeing nothing further on item 16, moving on to Sorry, Councilor Fitzgerald. Got to get used to somebody sitting there.
No problem at all. I just wanted to say thank you to all of you for, voting to seat me up here with you. And I look forward to getting to know everyone on the council. And I said this a few weeks back, but, you know, I grew up in South Windsor. I moved back here with my former husband when our kids were little, because we knew this is where we wanted to raise our kids and where we wanted them to go to school. And I think this is a really, really special community. And I think you can see it just in, you know, there's what, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 of us on the council who went to South Windsor schools. We have people on the Board of Education who grew up in this town. We have town employees who grew up in this town. We have teachers, we have school counselors who grew up in this town, and all as adults made the decision that, yes, this is where I want to live, where I want to raise my family, because it's such a great town. So I really, really look forward to working with all of you and communicating with all the residents of this town to make sure that this is the best town for everyone who lives here. So I look forward to working with you all.
Thank you, Councilor Fitzgerald. And I'd just like to say, yes, you and I had a 3-hour sit-down at Birdhouse and then a 10-minute ride to bring you home. So that was a great conversation. And seeing nothing further, we'll move on to item 17, executive session, having none. Moving on to 18, do I hear a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, seeing none, we are dismissed.